Although I'm certain somewhere beneath your official facade, below your icy formality, there is a passionate humanity, a man who understands, who knows me better than anyone else. I'm sure I'm just being paranoid. Oh, Grud. Oh, my sweet Grud. No, it's him. Here. Now. Can't let him see me. Not like this. Oh, Grud. What do I do? Wait. Oh, maybe he won't even notice me.
Lewis.
Your Honor. Well, I suppose there is some benefit to knowing the moment your life officially turned to garbage.
When I was only a boy, he placed my hands upon the roots of a tree and asked if I could feel anything. I was naive then. I looked for tremors and currents of magic and metaphysics within the tree, when he meant for me to be looking within myself. That is how, Zetar, we are now of one body. Look within my own memories. Look through the eons of humanity and the memories of the green. You said you came here to preserve, to protect. Tell me, Zetar, what do you think? Are we worth preserving? Your name, is it Levi? Levi Kame? Yes. I do not know the answer, Levi Kame.
Time after time, the jealous seizing on their better, their master, a monster, their conqueror. They all betray me because in the end, there can be only Modak. For Modak has no equals, no allies, no friends.
A few moments later.
It's a kid? Red Skull is nothing more than a kid? The sun rim dips. The stars rush out. At one stride comes the dark.
A few moments later.
Mighty Thor 419, drawn by Ron Friends and inked by Joe Sinat. This is a kind of page I absolutely love. Really, one of the reasons is one, it's kind of a philosophically interesting page. It is relevant, and it's a standalone story in the end. You know, even though it's part of a larger piece by itself, it says what it needs to say, and it goes full circle from a start to an end. So in order to demonstrate that, I'm going to do a dramatic reading of this page. Within instants, they discover the crude fundamentals of cultivation, and the first rough tools are crafted. Technology rapidly advances with each passing second. Cities are raised. Culture flourishes. But long before the Kalashi can achieve their true potential, they succumb to internal pressures and petty jealousies. The hostilities increase geometrically until the devastation is near total. Will the Kalashi rise anew? Time alone can answer. But for now, the Watcher must move on. Other phenomena command his attention.
It began in my sleep, the cold creeping into my bones, then into my dreams, where it was always so cold it burned. Your pleas be nothing, Hitch. The boys failed you, but perhaps he saved you from the fire after all. Perhaps, like a little fool, you'll freeze instead, and then I'll snap your brittle bones to splinters and use them to pull out your eyes!
I beg of you, let my child be free.
Fool! He is your child, cast from birth! He was never free!
This is a 2-page short story. It is called The Day After Doomsday from Weird War number 40. It was drawn by Howard Chaykin. It was inked by Bill Drought, and it was written by Len Wayne. This is a story that the concept itself is actually what drew me to it. It's something that I kind of sat on buying for a long time, but I would ultimately keep thinking about the concept. It would just kind of pop in my head. I just like it. It's simple. It kind of illustrates something about us as people and our psychology, and it's framed around the last man on Earth, the day after an apocalyptic doomsday event. And in order to just kind of show you what it's like, I am going to do a dramatic reading of these 2 pages. Thank you. Living is difficult in a land where death holds court, but the last man on Earth knew how to make the best of an unpleasant situation. He had walked the shattered ruins for days, and the panorama before him remained unchanged. Nothing but rubble stretching off to the sun. Another food can? Something for my evening meal? Seems the fates aren't quite through having their fun with me. They're trying to keep me alive. Living wouldn't be so bad, though, if it wasn't for the memories. If I didn't keep thinking how it used to be. If I didn't keep remembering the things I never got a chance to do. Maybe I'll just throw the can away and end it, huh? Somebody, tell me I'm seeing things. I've just stumbled across a miracle. With a quiet kind of reverence, the last man on Earth settled himself into the ruins to ponder his discovery. A plate glass window without a scratch or a crack? It's absolutely flawless. Somehow it escaped the Holocaust. Lord, the things that great glass eye must have seen, the buildings, the people rushing past, the pulse beat of the city. How many dramas have unfolded before their transparent backdrop? But they're part of the past. Now, only the window remains. What a strange monument to an entire way of life. Guess I haven't got time for those memories anymore. The last man on Earth wandered down the ruptured street, and the dying sound of the falling glass faded into silence behind him.
I came just to see you, Papa. Why, you dirty old man, snooping on me all the time. Remember how close we always were? You called me your little princess. Family? Huh. Who needs it? My life is better out there. Goodbye. Yes, we were close, Papa, weren't we? Sorry I couldn't attend Mama's funeral last week. I had a modeling assignment.
Today I'm going to share this 7-page short story, originally published in Mystery in Space 114 in 1980, penciled and inked by Thomas Yates. I think this is a great story. I think it's really well illustrated. I think it's well written. I think the concept is interesting, and it goes over the epitome of what a lot of people say they would do if they could go back in time, which is travel back and kill Hitler, and how it all goes awry. And in order to demonstrate that, I'm going to do a dramatic reading of these 7 pages. Thank you.
We must try to imagine the scene, Mikol. Through Loman's eyes, the high-powered concussion rifle, the viewfinder with its digital readouts for distance, wind, velocity, and impact radius, and of course the target. gesturing eloquently as he exhorted the teeming crowd. Naturally, we can never really know how it actually happened. We only know that Loman succeeded. He traveled back through time over 100 years and assassinated Adolf Hitler at the Nuremberg rally in 1938, and thereby doomed us all to a lifetime of misery. Imagine the consternation and horror as the party chief saw the Führer lying beneath, sprawled, with his body blackened and lifeless, struck down in the eve of his greatest triumph. And Loman, we can almost see his exhilaration, his joy. For hasn't he just slain history's greatest murderer before the beginning of the Second World War, thereby saving the millions of countless lives? But only now would Loman realize his terrible error as the shocked crowds were seeking the master's killer and see Loman exposed and startled. Loman, who was above all things a peaceful man, who was driven to this act of assassination only by his grief for those dead millions. Loman, completely unable to use his laser rifle to defend himself, and who thus paid the ultimate price for his ideas. But Loman would not be the only one to pay for his naive idealism. No, there were others whose lives would be collected in payment for Loman's folly. And thanks to Loman's gift, history would be changed, indeed. But in our new world, instead of being praised as the savior of millions, Loman is cursed as the supreme betrayer of mankind, the architect of 100 years of Nazi rule. Can you see it, McCall? Can you imagine it? Dear God, Professor, if what you've told me is true, then the world we know was created by one man and can be changed as easily by another. We could crush the Reich before it even began. But how do you know all this? What proof do you have? I know it is true because Loman was my friend. In another timeline, another reality, a reality where the Nazis were defeated in 1945. As for the proof, look over there. This sphere, what is it? Loman knew that if he succeeded in altering the past, our present would also change, and perhaps he would no longer exist. So he built this stasis sphere, a sphere that could exist outside time and thus would survive any changes in our present due to Loman's activities in the past. Apparently, this is what occurred. Our world was altered by Hitler's assassination, but the sphere remained unchanged. Inside it is a complete record in pictures and diagrams of Loman's plans for traveling back in time and his purpose, and in addition, blueprints for his toy machine. My God! The blueprints, Professor! Can you read them? Can you build the machine? You young fool! Why do you think I asked you here, endangering us both with the SS? I've already built the machine. You see it before you. But now, I want you to use it to travel back to the past and kill Loman before he kills Adolf Hitler. Do you think it's possible to change history again? Not only possible, I believe it's happened before. Not once, but an infinity of times. Not that it matters. Each of us perceives our world as only possible reality. But with time travel, an infinity of worlds becomes not only possible, but probable. Loman went back in time to one world. Now you go back in another reality, for another motive. Perhaps someone else will go back from another reality, and on and on. But it doesn't matter. What matters is we must try to change this past if we can. The alternative... Never mind, Professor. I understand. Do you? I imagine Loman thought that he understood too. And I wonder what horrors you may unleash upon another unsuspecting world. Yes, Otto, try to picture him if you can. A fool who thinks he can remake the future by changing the past. Imagine him standing behind the stage overlooking the rally, so full of his hopes and dreams. Kneeling and taking aim, with one laser burst, crushing the dream of the 1,000-year Reich. In his world, he succeeded. But we can change it, Otto. We can have our 1,000-year Reich. You know what you must do, Otto. You know what you must do, Evan. You know what you must do, Sergeant. You know what you must do.
You know what you must do.
Shall we give him what he wants? Shall we surrender to him the brazen object that feeds upon his vanity and views us as life discarded, like scattered ash? Amen to that. Uncover and let me be witness to the wrath awaiting the cursed one. Let the wings of violence stir the ash. Let it grip the enemy and strike him down. I'll find us cast in your image and ready to give him his due.
Take it easy, fellers. All this yelling's beginning to scare me.
It's so narrow. I don't think I'll fit. What if I get stuck? I'm only in your mind, Jimmy. If you get trapped in there, I can't pull you out. You felt afraid like this all the time? Every day since you became Captain America? Every day. Every second. How on earth did you bear it? Why did you keep going? So many people needed me. I didn't have a choice.
No! Torch! Don't! Don't what? Save the world? You can't take all the bows, Cap. You should have listened to Roger Storm. Johnny, that stupid hothead. I loved that kid. Even today, I can't forget the noise that he made. We should have known Johnny's death would push Franklin over the edge. Growing up the way he did, being the mascot of adventure after adventure, death wasn't real, wasn't part of the game, until that moment.
Today I have 3 pages. I'm going to Frankenstein these pages together, but they all pertain to the same exact storyline. This storyline is essentially the origin of Mr. Sinister. It was first done in the Further Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix. So there's this page and this one. From that series, they are drawn by John Paul Leon and inked by Klaus Janson. And then there is this one, which is drawn by Sean Chen and inked by Sean Chen for X-Men The End, which was written by Chris Claremont. These 3 pages are from different comics, different years, different storylines, but they go over the same lore that was coined in this Further Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix. So in order to demonstrate that, I'm going to do a dramatic reading of these 3 pages. Thank you.
This is but a crude prototype I've assembled to illustrate some possible biological extrapolations. I have worked on human parts and fused these with anatomical regions of animals and other inorganic materials. Imagine the improvements on our present human form that are possible. I began with the lungs. Outrageous! I'm an abomination! Throw the madman out! But surely, science must be above such petty, conventional modes of decency. This is the future! Bong! Cowards! If our forefathers had been as timid as you, we'd still be sitting in trees, eating berries, and scratching each other's buttocks. Darwin, surely you must see the significance of my work. In 1859, a Victorian geneticist named Nathaniel Essex, who considered himself a peer of Charles Darwin, encountered a mutant who'd been born a slave in the glory days of ancient Egypt and who'd risen to become its conqueror. He called himself En-Sabah-Nur, but he was better known by a name that fitted him far better, usually spoken by his maimed and dying victims as a curse. Apocalypse! Awakening after a hibernation of millennium, he determined to lay his claim to the world of that era in Nathaniel Essex. He sought an ally who would help him achieve that goal. This is where it happens. This is where evil is born. The crux point upon which humanity's future turns. For the ancient conqueror known as Apocalypse has risen to stake his bloody claim to the modern world. And he has claimed an ally whose scientific genius will, in the fullness of time, prove to be the deciding factor in shaping the world. They are perhaps the worst villains mankind has ever known. Now, in a weird chamber dripping with alien technology, beneath the streets of mid-Victorian London, the man whom Apocalypse has tempted with dark promises cries out as his last dregs of his humanity are scorched from his soul, turning him into Sinister!
So I'm filming this kind of in honor of the fact that I do believe that this will be the only time that I actually buy a Jack Kirby page. Now, Jack Kirby pages, as you probably know, can be a bit pricey, so I'm really glad to have this. While a lot of people may not really care about Silver Star, to me it's a very interesting piece. I mean, it's something that Kirby was the writer, the drawer, the story arc deviser. I mean, he really did this all himself. He also owned the rights to the character. He started it as a screenplay, and it's a much darker book than I expected. The name Silver Star itself is actually a military award that you're given, and a lot of the experience you can kind of tell draws from his military experience. It is a rather dark tale. It's got a lot of, I guess you could say, body count. A lot of people die. The villain is evil in a disturbing way, and it really kind of calls back to a lot of classic heroism, classic evil, good versus evil, and the ultimate triumph of it. It has some beautiful montages, some lyrics that overlap, some imagery, and you could tell that he meant what he wrote, and he really devised it from himself and from his own life experiences, and that to me actually adds a lot of value to it. This page is 11 panels, which is, I would say, unique. It has a lot of dialogue, and ultimately this is, rather than an action page, it's an actor page. This is a diatribe by a villain. It's got some interesting, possibly poetic dialogue, and just to kind of demonstrate that, I'm going to do a dramatic reading of this page.
Oh yes, it must be done right. Apropos of the Midway atmosphere, don't you think, my dear? Of course I momentarily forgot. Caught up in the air of gaiety, you see. I know I've arrested your ability to act in any fashion. Poor creature. I've even whisked you to this ludicrous place to be near me. I rather like that. That smooth, tactile contact with your silken cheek. No, I don't dare. This could lead to loss of discipline, the loss of will, the loss of intent, the slip of power through an offending hand. Thus the soft caress must vanish, and the closed fist become the mind and the heart. Raised in the cult of self-denial, I must never stray from the key to its attraction, frustration and fear, and the need for ego, spiritual fetters, personal fires, the explosive mandate given only to him who divines its use. Accept me or die, for who am I but the Lord's own avenging angel? The end. Tales from the Flip.
Hello everyone, welcome to my flip. First up here we have a paperback cover painting and a drawing by Alex Ross, but on to the portfolios. First up here we have Silver Surfer number 39 by Jim Sherman. And we have a Dueling Dealers of Comic Art purchase, which is Defenders 119 by Don Perlin and Mike Gustovic. Being from the Birthplaces Dungeons & Dragons, I needed a page from Advanced Dungeons & Dragons number 29 by Jan Drasema and Rick Magyar. Next up is a page from Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe number 9 by Dalibor Talajic. Next is a paperback illustration by Bernard Krigstein in 1958 from Borderhawk, August Bondi. These are 2 pages from Silver Surfer Requiem by Assad Riddick. Left page has The Watcher, and next is a Galactus panel, which I love. Next is the title page for Cerebus number 5 by Dave Sim, and a cover for Challengers of the Unknown number 5 by Mark Hempel. 2 pages from the story called The Champion from Epic Magazine number 33 by Dan Day, and Gene Day was the letterer. 2 John Buscema Conan pages. The one on the left was inked by Alfredo Alcala. The one on the right by Klaus Jansen. Next is 2 sequential pages from Mighty Thor number 325 by Alan Cooperberg and Jim Mooney. A lot of cameo appearances and kind of depicts the birth of the character named Darkoth. Next is from What If number 23, 1980 by Ron Wilson and inked by Sheik Stone. Following that is a complete 7-page story from Mystery in Space number 114, 1980 by Thomas Yates. A really cool time travel story about going back in time to kill Hitler and how it all goes wrong. And they therefore have to create an infinity loop of changes to fix the initial mistake, which is kind of perfectly depicted by that last page. Next is from Bizarre Adventures number 2 by Gene Colan and inked by Alfredo Alcala from the story Annie Mae. Next is a Pencils Only by Gene Colan for Predator, Hell, and Hot Water. Another Gene Colan page by Jem, Son of Saturn, number 1, inked by Klaus Janson. Kind of a title page with Ego and a Celestial on top by Pat Oliff for Mystery Thor, number 450. Following that is 2 pages by John Paul Leon, inked by Klaus Janson for Further Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix. Page on the left shows Mr. Sinister coming out kind of the first time as Mr. Sinister. And on the right is a semi-splash of Apocalypse. Next is 2 Jim Starlin pages. The one on the left is from the Infinity Abyss, issue 5, drawn by Jim Starlin and inked by Al Milgrom. One on the right, Death of the New Gods, number 8, Jim Starlin and Art Thibert. Next is 2 pages from Earth X, drawn by John Paul Leon and inked by Bill Reinhold. My absolute favorite series. Next is 2 pages from a story in Weird War number 12, both by Tony DeZuniga. Next we have 3 pages by Will Eisner. All of them are from their graphic novels. The first one is from Invisible People, which is the only one to be published in comic book form. Second one is from A Family Matter. Third one is also from Invisible People. Next we have Swamp Thing number 95 by Pat Broderick and inked by Alfredo Alcala. Next we have a page from Cerebus 181 by Dave Sim and Gerhard. It was also, the top panel was also the cover for issue number 181. Next has a little bit of rice paper over it, but it's a color guide for Silver Surfer Parable, the hardcover graphic novel version. It's actually painted on the back with an overlay on top. It was painted by John Wellington. Next up, we have a page from Cerebus number 24 by Dave Sim. Then we have the very first page I ever bought of Comic Art from Paradise X number 7 by Doug Braithwaite, inked by Bill Reinhold. Then we have the title page for a story called Soldier's Grave from Fighting Forces number 134, 1971 by Alex Toth. Then we have a page from Marvel Comics Presents number 173, done by Keith Giffen. A really cool Silver Surfer story. And finally, we have a page by Jack Kirby, inked by Mike Royer, from Silver Star number 3. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Oh, and one other thing, Books of Magic. Look at all these bricks.